morning. Mincha today will be at 5. There's a late Marv at 8. Tomorrow morning we'll be davening at 6:10. Now for a very quick Devar Torah. In this week's Parsha, we start off with the Jews leaving Egypt. They're leaving Egypt, and the route to get to Eretz Israel is to go direct across the Sinai. But they're directed to take a detour, and the Torah gives the reason is they might face the Philistines, there'd be a war, and they would go running back to Egypt. Meanwhile, at the end of the Parsha, the Jews fight Amalek, and it's a full-blown war, and there's no fear of them running back to Egypt. So the question is, what happened? Over there, we're afraid the Jews would run back to Egypt. Over here, we're saying they're not going back, even if there's an extremely bloody war. And there was a life and death war with the Amalekites. The Philistines, we had a land dispute with them. They said the land is theirs, we said the land is ours. That's a land dispute. Amalekites have a totally different attitude, and we'll get more into this later, that they just say, we cannot live in the same world as Jews. It's either us or them. So what happened in the middle, that there was no fear of the Jews going back to Egypt fighting the Amalekites? The answer is Kriyat Yam Suf, going through the Red Sea. They realized there was nothing left to go back to. That the Egyptians were destroyed. They could not be slaves anymore. One of the important things to remember about former slaves is a lot of them liked slavery. People don't realize that. When you're a slave, the master takes care of you. He gives you food, he gives you clothes. It might not be the best food, might not be the best clothing, but you're taken care of. Whereas a free man has to take care of himself. He's responsible to take care of himself and his family. So the lesson here is the Jews had to learn there was no going back. God said, no, you're free now, and you're going to have to take the bumps with all the rewards. And therefore, that's why in the beginning, when there was a possibility of going back to Egypt, God did not want the Jews to get into a fight because there was a fear that they would go back. Afterwards, when there was there was nothing left to go back to, and they realized it, then they could fight because they had nothing to go to, nothing to run away to. Something to think about. Kaddish Rabbanim. Amen.